He's a big boy. So, another problem with doing too many layers of paint, and my skill. So, I don't know, this paint job, it looks too busy in my opinion. Destro, ripped the cockpit out of some knockoff G.I. Joe A10 Warthog I got from Goodwill. So built the cockpit just out of poly styrene strips over the course of a weekend. And then the standard, drew it up in Fusion, 3D printed it. I haven't tried to transform him just out of fear of ripping the paint, tearing it up. I did engineer it kind of with in mind that the transformation could still happen, and maybe I'll make a video one day of the transformation. And then I found an old cape off of some Goodwill toy, I don't know. Then again, the sword, the Beastmaster's Optimus Prime. It's kind of gray when you get it, but did a white primer and then did the gradient. Same thing as his sword. But touch-up paint, when I was going through, I kind of hit it right there. Really didn't feel like trying to go and blend that back out. So, wabi-sabi, I guess. Celebrate the imperfections. Speak of the devil. I never pinned him back together because I don't plan on transforming it. It just sits on a shelf. So this just kind of rests in there. 3D printer. And I think this was on medium resolution. So I could go back through and 3D print it on fine. It just takes forever. And if it's just for me, I don't care. The shield. Painted it up. Did a little bit of dry brushing. And kind of get the metallic feel. And then had some old serpent head Cobra G.I. Joe missile launcher. Cut that off and stick it on the top. Looks pretty cool. This is another Fusion creation. At one time all the joints were in there good. But playing around a little bit, they just get looser and looser, and then read online you can tighten up action figure joints with super glue, but too much and it's locked in place. Really, this is just a learning Fusion workout. Kind of looked at a tank gun and drew that out. This missile does come out and it fits in there. The only problem is if I push it in too far, I can't get it out. So kind of just sits in the end. And then there was like a little slide that closed up right here. And the plan for this, I mean, all these joints are supposed to fold up and fold down like that. So it would sit in kind of a hidden position. And then if you wanted to open it up, it can articulate out. But such is learning. So for big boy here, instead of relying on just plastic pins and then gluing them together, I did through holes and then used nuts and just screws and held it on. And you put a little dab of super glue right there and it will hold the screws in place. Same thing here. This is a pivot. And then in Fusion, you can get on McMaster and find the nut that you want and use that as a cutting tool to kind of cut a nut shape. So the nut will actually sit recessed in there. If I ever went to like a production model of this, all those little nubs would be gone and stuff like that. But as far as R&D, learning it. So the wings fold down. It's got a little jetpack. This is not glued on is the problem. And doing it one-handed does not help. So, wings fold down, or they fold up. And then there's just screws that kind of hold it all together. Snake Eyes is falling out of the cockpit. This is a gun, but the gun doesn't really fit in there very well. Because I modeled the gun at work, and I didn't have my Mech model. So it doesn't fit very well here, so it's floppy and placeholder. And then as you see, these... Jesus. Well, hopefully we can edit that out. Or maybe I'll just leave it. One-stop shop camera. So these pivots are real beefy. You know? This is third or fourth iteration of this, and it's pretty important that you have a radius right there at my fingernail. If it's just straight, it prints it as two separate pieces kind of in here, and then it's only held on by the 90-degree part, and it doesn't hold up. Barely any manipulation and it breaks. But this is a lot better than, say, that joint. Case in point, after I powder coated it and tried to move the arm, it broke. I mean, it's just too thin to use that as a kind of a compression fitting, to rely on the friction of that stuff together to hold your manipulation, and it just sucks. I mean, live and learn, but... And see, just that little bit at my fingernail is kind of what's holding that together, whereas that joint is substantially beefier. So, and this is what I'm talking about with this screw. So you can actually use the nut as a cutting tool, and then the nut just fits in there. Like that. And then if you ever went to production, you wanted it to look nice, you would get the correct size nuts and make your model right. But, this is just for me. So, cockpit opens. I do have some Lexan or polycarbonate that's going to go right here. I have this bottom piece cut, but I didn't want to put it on before painting, because then that will kind of happen. You paint the whole thing, but your polystyrene is unpainted under the glass, and it's not a very good look. Then kind of a samurai motif, I guess you'd say, with the armor. Manipulatable hands. Those are all just held on there by little screws. If you print the hole inside of your model the right size, it has enough grabbing force that you can just thread the plastic and use it like that. But I don't know how long it would really hold up, is the question. For me, sitting on a shelf, yeah, that's fine. Not bad. Been at it a couple years, off and on. You know, work, life will get in the way. What I would suggest, if anyone wants to get into it, I mean, you can find a hell of a lot of Transformers at your Goodwill and your Toys R Us's, not Toys R Us, but Goodwill and Value Villages if you're still around in your area. See, this is the same drift that this drift is. So that's what he started out as, and then I boiled him, like not even 10 minutes, and he came out like this. But too much. He was such a nice color red. I may make a video on doing him. I don't know. He looks pretty good just like this. But if you want to get into it, I would suggest you go to Goodwill, Value Village, find a shitty transformer. These bumblebees are freaking everywhere. And practice painting them. I would stay away from your testers. You're better off with just rattle can spray paint. The Painter's Touch paint is good. You can spray it on there thin enough that your paint jobs come out relatively well. If you can't afford an airbrush setup, then stay away from this though. Krylon is garbage. Can we hit it? Nah, close enough. Sprays on too thick, it just gobs on. This has a very light touch. If you stay kind of 12 inches or so away,